Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It is so good to see everybody. How are you doing today? I am very excited for this week's episode because, man, we just wrapped up the major summer showcase season for the video game industry. I'm sure there might be a few other little things that pop up throughout the summer, but the big ones, the ones that we were kind of all waiting for all year, have now all finally happened. Sony had theirs a little bit ago, but it still kind of counts in this mess. That was in the end of May. Then we got Ubisoft, we got Xbox, we got Summer Game Fest from Jeff Keighley. We got really all of the major showcases now done because it looks like Nintendo is not going to have a big direct. Or if they are going to have a direct, all the rumors are it's going to be either a partner showcase or an indie direct. It doesn't sound like Nintendo's going to have like a major massive direct, at least this summer. We'll see. Maybe they'll surprise us, but the rumblings are sounding like they won't. So those are all now wrapped up. They're done. There's tons of cool announcements that came really across the board. Some shows were better than others, but they are now here. We have a way better look now about the next 6 months of video games all the way into 2024. We are going to wrap it all up today in a nice little bow, talk about all of it, the games that impressed you, the games that impressed me, who won the summer showcase season. That's always a debate. Really all of that goodness. Let me make sure my audio is good. It is. So, yeah, that's probably going to be the main topic. Of course, as always, we can talk about whatever you guys want. So if this is your first time ever as part of my stream, it's a show that's driven by you, your comments, your questions. We just talk about the latest news in the video game industry. There's going to be a few ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want. It pops into chat and I get to as many free questions as I possibly can. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, there's going to be a couple ways to do that. First of all, of course, there is the super chat option. You just type a donation of whatever you want. It alerts me and I get to super chats immediately. The other way to guarantee that I get to your question is going to be by being a channel member. Channel memberships are $4.99 for a month. And if you become a channel member, basically every single stream, I guarantee that I will get to at least one comment or question from every single channel member. So if you don't want to do super chats, but you still want to make sure you get questions answered in these chats, be a channel member and you'll get one every single stream, guys. All right. So we don't have to do like a bunch of preamble today. We can kind of just dive straight into it because I feel like it's really one main topic we're going to talk about. And there'd be no point in me just like waxing poetically about all of the different announcements and stuff at the showcases because your guys' questions and comments will give a lot more context to all of this sort of stuff. So really quick, this is going to sound super weird. Let me take some pictures of the top of the chat because these chats are getting so big now in terms of questions that I lose chat, and I want to make sure the people that get in here early before the stream starts get some of their questions answered. So I know that sounds funny, but give me just a sec. I'm just going to take a picture of the top of chat, like the first. There we go. That should be good. Okay, is audio good? Audio good, everybody? What's up? All right, I think audio's fine. So I think we're good to kick it off. Let's see here, guys. We've got a couple channel memberships right off the top. We got Joseki here, channel member, saying, "Hi, Benji. How would you rate the showcase? Personally, I think it was pretty solid, but it didn't leave me as impressed as I think most people are. Too much in-game footage and cutscenes for me, but I suspect Starfield is going to be quite big. Hopefully, it's the start of Microsoft finally having multiple big games every year, like all platform holders should have." Well, first of all, Joseki, thanks as always for being a channel member, man. For me, the Xbox showcase was a legit A. I really enjoyed it. Now, I wouldn't go full on S tier, right? S tier is like you blew all expectations out of the water. You completely demolished. My hype fest was just melted. My brain was melted. You know, so an S is going to be very hard to hit, right? There's only been a few showcases ever that I would put as an S tier for anyone. But this to me was a legit A. I thought that a heavy first party presence here, which was really nice to see. Now, again, some people like Joseki here, which there's nothing wrong with this opinion that Joseki has. Some people might be like, hey, I wanted more straight raw gameplay than what I got for some of these games. That's completely understandable. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with having that opinion. But I was happy to see at least like a real heavy first party presence here. I mean, we had Avowed, we had the compulsion game, something to midnight. My brain's not working right now. We had Fable, we had Hellblade, we had Forza, we had the Clockwork game from Obsidian, we had Starfield, like just so much first party, which was really, really cool to see. You know, again, whether some of those could have been a little bit longer or not, it was still cool to just see that many first-party games in a show. Then I thought that the pacing was excellent. I never felt bored during that showcase, and that's a really hard thing to pull off. Almost every showcase, I get to a point where I'm kind of mentally checked out a little bit, where it's like, okay, like it's been dragging for a little bit here for a while. I never got that way with the Xbox showcase. Now, there were some trailers I liked more than others, right? There were some games there that I maybe wasn't super interested in, but it was all like so rapid that even the stuff that I wasn't super into, it was so quickly on to the next thing that it was like it just flowed super great. The pacing for this thing was excellent. So heavy first party presence, super great pacing, some nice third party stuff sprinkled in there as well. I thought it was a legit A. I thought this was the showcase that Xbox absolutely needed, right? Again, it wasn't full on S tier for me. In order to hit like that S tier, I would have needed to see more legit like raw gameplay of some of these games, you know? If they would have done that, like if Fable would have gotten like 5 minutes of like straight gameplay, if we would have got, you know, more footage of actual gameplay from Hellblade and things like that, then it could have gone to a legit S for me. But, you know, it lacking a bit of that, you know, it's still a solid A though for me. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Now, in regards to Starfield, yeah, I think this is a legit system seller, like a legit one. And anyone that saw my video that I did to the response to Phil Spencer video that I did, like when he did that kind of funny interview, I was saying on there, I was like, guys, if Starfield is like amazing, if it's really, really good, I am telling you this thing's going to move consoles. And to me, this just made me more confident in that. The reception online has been crazy. Of course, there's always going to be some people disappointed in things, but the overall like reception is crazy. Whether it's like the controllers, which are seeing people like my timeline, my feed is just filled with people buying these controllers. Tons and tons of excitement in the Xbox camp, and even a lot of like PlayStation hardcores. Sorry, it's my dog. He does this every time there's a delivery in the neighborhood. Just, yeah, super, super great. So I think Starfield's going to legit move consoles. Like, legit. I think people are going to buy Xboxes specifically for that game. Blazing Flame channel member here. Let me see. Sorry, the chat moved. Blazing Flame, channel member, why do you think there wasn't as many new third-party AAA announcements at this summer season compared to E3 2016 to 2018? Is it because devs aren't ready to show their games yet and game dev time has increased? Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton. You know, we did get some new announcements. Star Wars Outlaws was a new AAA announcement, but that is a pretty fair point, Blazing Flame. We didn't have a ton of third-party brand new announcements at this summer, like in general. I didn't really think about that, but that is a good observation. We didn't get a ton. A lot of it was updates on games that were announced before. So that is interesting. My hunch is that a lot of studios that are making current gen only games right now just aren't ready. You know, and this is unfortunate. This goes back to, guys, I talk about it like on almost every stream, how like the biggest danger to the video game industry is how long games take. And I saw Matt Booty's comments whenever they were on the couch at Giant Bomb, and he was just talking about how like the days of 2 to 3 years are over, and it's all about 5-6 year dev cycles now. And I will just continue to say that that's not a healthy spot for the industry to be in. So I agree with Matt Booty to say that is the current state, because it is, right? 5 to 6 years is very, very normal, some taking longer. So he is correct in that, but I don't think that is a good thing. I don't think we should be looking at that and being like happy about it. I think that everyone in the industry needs to be making concerted efforts to figure out how to bring that down. And again, as I always say when I talk about this, I'm not saying that I'm the guy with the answers, because I'm not. It's a very complex problem, right? So again, this isn't going to be Benji preaching to the devs how to shorten their dev cycles. I have no idea how to pull it off. But as I keep saying, if you want to bring down the risk in the video game industry in every single way, there's one way to do it. Like one way that will address everything else is like a not kaleidoscope. Everything else is like a domino effect if you can do this one thing, and that's to bring down dev cycles. So I think that that's probably why you didn't get a ton of new third-party games announced here, because a lot of people are shifting now into current gen only games. Keep in mind that most, like 95% of the games that have come out in the last 3 years have all been cross-gen. Right now, you're starting to finally see teams move into current gen only development, and a lot of that's going to be on new engines like Unreal Engine 5, which just recently have really come online. It's going to be even new internal engines or super big updates to their own internal engine. So I think that's probably part of it, is A, dev cycles just take forever nowadays, and B, so many people are just now moving into their current gen projects only that, you know, it might be taking a little bit to get some of these games out the door. That said, the release slate for this year is jam-packed, so it's okay that we didn't get a ton of new announcements, honestly. And even 2024 is already shaping up to look really, really well, and we only have like barely anything of 2024 really announced yet. So I'm honestly not that worried about it in terms of total releases, but it is a good observation. There wasn't a ton of AAA third-party games announced during this summer. You're right about that. Split End in the chat. What is up, buddy? Split End also re-upped his membership. Thank you so much, Split End, buddy, man. I really, really appreciate that. Split End, great friend of mine, helps mod the channel. Check out his work at Gaming Trend. He was at Summer Game Fest, did a bunch of coverage there. Awesome dude. And he said, but I thought big games weren't going to turn things around for Xbox, winky face. Seems like they might, especially if Starfield is as good as it looks. Yeah, guys, I was very confident whenever I made that response video to Phil. And again, this gets brought up a lot, Phil's comments on that. And again, I don't think Phil really meant that he thought that like games would have no impact. I think that some of that was just heat of the moment type stuff, and like a heat of the moment interview, and they're just coming off a Redfall and all of that sort of stuff going on. So, you know, I try to not be too tough on Phil about that, but that's why I made that response video, just focus on that one snippet. The rest of the interview, you know, I didn't really address, because I thought most of the rest of the stuff he was saying was perfectly fine and spot on. It was just that one comment where he was like, you know, first party games alone won't turn it around for us. And I know what he meant. But yes, first-party games absolutely can turn things around for them. Yeah, 100%. And like I said, you know, back then, I think it was in a live chat that was like right after I had made that response video. And I said, and it might have even been in the response video, but I said, it might, from Xbox's perspective, right? It might look internally to them that like first-party games aren't going to be able to turn things around. And I said, because they've never had that solid cadence. They don't have that history to look at as a prime example of why it will turn their brand around, right? Xbox has always just been up and down with first party. It's been like, there's some years where they have a really good output, then there's some years where it's like a really bad output. Like, Xbox has never, literally since the brand existed, has never been in a position where it's just year in, year out, consistent, high quality first party games delivering. So if you don't have that history, you know, to you on the inside, it might look like, man, Xbox, you know, I don't know if first party alone is going to be able to turn a lot of things around for us, because they don't have that history. But I'll tell you what, it sure has worked for Nintendo. Sure has worked for Nintendo. And it's no doubt had a massive impact on the PlayStation brand as well, right? PlayStation's not quite like Nintendo. Third party drives a lot of PlayStation as well. But make no mistake, all of those huge PlayStation first party games have also helped in the acceleration of the PlayStation brand. So Xbox, it looks like, and we got to cross our fingers because we've been here so many times with Xbox where it looked like it was finally going to happen, but it does look like Xbox right now is finally turning that corner. And I'll tell you what, if things like Starfield are as good as they look, if Fable really looks that good when it comes out and it's a super good game, if this Clockwork game from Obsidian, which looks like a super cool Bioshocky RPG type thing, like if these games start consistently hitting boom, 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 and most of them are good, I am telling Phil and I am telling the Xbox team and anyone that would happen to see this potentially, it's going to turn your brand around. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not telling you that that instantly means you're going to sell 100 million Xbox Series consoles, but I feel very confident. My dog's going to go nuts again. Another delivery. I apologize. I'm telling you right now, it's going to massively move hardware. I'm telling you that. Starfield's going to have a huge impact. So, yeah, absolutely. Benji here with a 5 super chat. I'm sorry, my dog is old and he just loses his mind whenever there's deliveries. Benji here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Great to see you, man. Hi, Benji. Do you expect more devs to take example of on Ubisoft with smaller scope and price games of their franchises like Assassin's Creed Mirage? I would love it. You know, I've been telling you guys, I loved what they did with Miles Morales. A nice, tighter experience, not quite as long as some of the big other AAA games that you see. That means a shorter dev cycle. That means you can potentially launch the game for a little bit less price, which, you know, might make it more accessible to people. I would love to see the industry do more of these types of games. I don't think everything needs to be this 100-hour game, you know, launching at $70. I think that's a dangerous spot to put the industry if that's just it. You know, if it's either like an indie game or all the way to a $200 million game that costs $70 for the person to buy and it's going to take them 100 hours to play it. We need experiences that are in between there. Just like with movies, just like with TV shows, not everything is the next House of the Dragon budget, right? There's stuff that's a lot cheaper budget. There's a huge range. It needs to be the same thing in video games. I understand that video games and TV or movies aren't the exact same thing, but they're all entertainment. They're all things that cost money and it's a budget and it's taking people's entertainment time. I understand the pull of releasing these huge blockbuster games that cost tons and tons of money, and I think the industry should be doing that, but you also need some of these smaller things sprinkled in there. I think that's only healthy. I think there's almost no downside on it. Yes, you could argue, well, that does still take resources, and we could put all those people on the next, 400-hour blockbuster game. Sure, you could, but is that the right choice? I don't know about that, right? So I'd love it. I would love to see more Miles Morales-sized games, more of these Mirage-type games, right? Isn't Mirage like $49.99 for like the base version, and then there's like a $59.99 special edition or whatever? That's so good. That's so good. The industry needs some of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'd love to see it. Now, Benji, if we will see more of those, I don't know. My hunch is no. The industry really loves just giant budgets and giantly long games and that sort of thing, or indies. Now, there's some AA stuff in between, but not really from the major publishers, right? A lot of the AA stuff is coming from like smaller independent studios, right? You don't see many of the actual Ubisofts and things like that making some more of these sized games. I'd love to see EA, Ubisoft, Microsoft, Sony, all of them do it. Not for every game, but just some. But we'll see. I'm not sure. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing if the industry starts doing more of that. Where are we at? There's going to be a bunch of member questions I'll definitely get to, but I'm just making sure the super chats get hit. Jeremy G with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Jeremy G. FTC case next week. 5 court days. Who gets the W? This is interesting because right now things really are coming down to the wire on this deal. A lot of stuff has happened in the last few days. Sounds like, yeah, this whole court battle is going to happen very, very soon. I've seen, again, I am no law expert. I've seen a couple different opinions on this thing. One thing I am seeing from people that really, really follow this stuff is this is actually what Microsoft wants. They want this to just go down now, and get it done as quick as possible. In fact, I think Microsoft's comments themselves were like, let's get this figured out by the end of June. Sounds to me like Microsoft wants to make sure that they have an answer before that July deadline comes up for the whole Activision Blizzard thing, right? This whole deal that they have between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard technically expires. Well, when I say expires, it's supposed to be renegotiated if they don't have it done by mid-July, I think. Now, there's been some comments that they might extend that window out further, but just that was the way it was originally signed. They also, Microsoft told their investors that it would be done by the end of the fiscal year, by the end of June. So it sounds to me like Microsoft wants this. They're like, let's battle it out right now and figure out what's going to go down. So who gets the W? I've just been 50-50 on this thing for a long time now. I've been saying, to me, it's a coin flip. If I had to pick, like you're just like, Benji, you must make a choice, even though you're not a law expert, I would say I think Microsoft still gets it at the end of the deal. Yeah, I still think at the end of everything, Microsoft, if I had to choose, gets this thing through. But that's not like coming from a place of confidence where I'm like, hey, I'm telling you that this will happen. I have no idea, but I just still think they'll find a way to get it through in the end. Split End 89 gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Split End, dude. Always giving to the community as well. That's super awesome of you, Split End. Divyanshu Dwivid, I'm not sure how to say that. You just got a channel membership, man. So, ask away, ask some questions. You get one every stream this month. Thanks to Split End 89 for gifting the memberships, giving back to the community. That's super awesome of you, man. You are the man. Let's run a poll. We haven't run a poll yet. Let's do this one. If Starfield is high quality, will it have a big hardware impact? So if Starfield is super, super good, is this thing going to sell Xbox consoles? Yes. It will be big. We'll say yes, but not a huge amount. And then we'll say no, but I don't know how you could vote no, but you know, I'll give you that option. We'll give you the option of no, it won't move hardware. That's silly, but you know, if I'm being fair, I got to include it in there. So if Starfield's super high quality, will it have a hardware impact? And what I mean by hardware impact, is it going to sell Xbox consoles? Your options are yes, it will be big. In other words, it's going to sell a lot of Xboxes. Yes, but not a huge amount. So you think, yeah, it's going to sell some Xboxes, but don't expect tons of Xbox sales. And then I gave you no, it won't move hardware. Poll is in the chat. If you want my answer, I think yes, it will be big. Now, again, that doesn't mean I think it's going to like instantly outsell PS5. That's not what I'm saying. But I think they will sell a lot of Xboxes. Yeah, a lot. Again, don't take that for me saying, oh my God, if just because of Starfield, now Xbox is outselling PS5 worldwide. That's not the stance I'm taking. But I'm saying, yeah, they're going to sell a lot of consoles, I think, if it's good. Dikuboru here with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Starfield looks like the greatest game ever. Do you think this is the biggest new IP of all time? I've never seen a new IP with this much hype. Well, I'm not going to go that high, Dikuboro. I do think the game looks great. I thought that Direct was outstanding. What I will say is that biggest new IP of all time, I can't go that far. Never seen a new IP with this much hype. I mean, people forget Watch Dogs had some crazy hype when that thing was announced. Crazy engagement. Even if you want to go back to like the original Last of Us, that was crazy coming off of all of the success of Uncharted. We've seen some pretty massive new IP reveals. So I don't know if I'm going to go like all the way to like the biggest ever. Here's what I'll say flat out. I think if Starfield is honestly as good as it looks, I think it will be the biggest Xbox game in a very, 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 very long time. Yeah, like huge. Like we're talking Xbox specifically. I think it'll be bigger than Halo Infinite was, and that was massive at launch. People forget Halo Infinite was a monster in its first month. Now it fell off hard, but that first month, Halo Infinite was an absolute beast. Forza Horizon 5 has done crazy numbers. We've seen some big Xbox games, but if Starfield is legit, how it looks, and that is like the final quality when you're playing this on console. Yeah, I think it's gonna be the biggest Xbox game in many, many, many years. So again, if we're talking like the whole industry, I'm not gonna go as aggressive as that, but I think this has potential to be the biggest Xbox game we've seen in years. Yeah, I really think it can. Dead Planet with a 5 super chat. Could Starfield's success shift Xbox strategy with the day and date on Game Pass by coming up with additional things like early access to make people buy the game? I've been saying for a while the smartest thing that they do is these like paid upgrades. Like they did with Forza Horizon 5. They made so much money off of that, guys. And they've got one for Starfield as well, where I think it's $35. They should do this with every first-party game. And let me say one thing first before people get upset, because I know some people are mad about the early access part. I'm not necessarily saying they need to do like early access for every one of their games, because, some people have various opinions on early access. Some people see it as super sketchy. Some people like me are just fine with it. I don't really care. Like if I'm not like Diablo, I didn't buy the big expensive edition of the game. I didn't really care that people were playing it a few days before me. There's so many games to play. It's like, that's fine. I'll just get the regular edition and play it when it comes out. But I know some people really hate the paid early access thing. To me, if someone wants to pay to have that happen, more power to you. Who cares? But whether it's the early access or not, the smartest thing they're doing right now is allowing Game Pass subscribers to do these paid upgrades to the deluxe editions without having to pay the full amount to buy the game, right? So it's like you can upgrade to the Starfield Deluxe Edition, I think, for $35. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, you don't have to pay the $60 for the game or like the $80 or whatever it is for the full Deluxe Edition. You can just pay for the upgrade. That's genius, because there are, let's just face it, millions of people now sub to Game Pass like myself that just don't buy Xbox games anymore. I haven't bought a single first-party Xbox game since Game Pass was created. I haven't bought a single one. But you know what I did do? I did do that paid deluxe upgrade for Forza Horizon 5, because I was like, wait, this is cheaper than buying the game itself, and I get all of the bonuses for the deluxe edition. Of course, sure, I'll definitely spend it. Starfield, of course, $35. And it's not the price of a $60 game, but I'm getting the game itself through the subscription plus all the extras. Yeah, this is genius. Microsoft should be every single first-party game. I'm not saying they all need to include the early access, but every single one should have this. You pay a lower cost amount to upgrade to the deluxe and get all those benefits, because it's a way to get more money out of these first-party games beyond just people subbing to Game Pass, because a lot of people now aren't going to buy these first-party games. I know there's some people that still do, but there's also people like me. I don't see why I would buy these games anymore, because I don't ever plan on unsubbing from Game Pass, right? If the day ever came that Game Pass for some reason ended, I would just go back and buy these games that I wanted now. But as of now, I don't see a reason to buy them personally. But I will, sure, I'll do these paid upgrades. It's not even $60, and I'm getting all of the extras. Yeah, it's genius. They should be doing this across the board, all of them. Doesn't always need to be $35. It depends on the game, right? And if it's something like Pentiment, obviously you're not going to do it for like a Pentiment-sized game. But I'm saying they're big AAA games, Fable and all that. Yeah, they should definitely be doing this paid to upgrade to deluxe. Yeah, sure. Very, very smart. Dikuburo here with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I think that's your second one of the stream. Best showcase I've ever seen. How do you feel about Xbox showing a bunch of big first-party single-player games day one on Game Pass, while Sony showed a bunch of games as a service? This is something interesting. It is a bit of a flip from what we're accustomed to seeing. Sony's show was so service-heavy, right? It was stuff like Concord. It was, Haven's game. What is it called? Fair Games. It was Marathon. Like the first-party stuff that was featured besides Spider-Man, right, was mostly games as a service and online stuff, which is something that we kind of have thought about Xbox as. Interestingly, though, you are correct in that Xbox's showcase, what a flip that is from what we saw out of Sony. Fable is clearly, going to have a major single player component. Now, I won't be surprised if Fable has online co-op or whatever, but looks like it's going to be a big RPG single player experience, probably with maybe some optional multiplayer stuff. Starfield, big single player game. The game coming from Compulsion, single player game. Hellblade, single player game. In Exile's new RPG, Clockwork, single player game. It is pretty interesting, and I really love this out of Xbox. This is great news to me because I thought that Xbox traditionally has been so service heavy for a long time, right? It was stuff like Halo, which we know has a single player component, but it's like really built for the online. And I'm not saying that service games are bad, by the way. I'm just saying Xbox hadn't had a ton of like just huge single player exclusive games, and we're seeing a ton coming up from them now. So this is super cool. I don't like to beat up on Sony too much right now. I know a lot of people are bullying, or not bullying, that's not the right word, but a lot of people are being really hard on PlayStation right now because of that showcase they had. I don't think it was a good showcase from PlayStation either. But keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of big single-player games coming from PlayStation as well. I know that a lot of people are worried after that last showcase, since we saw hardly anything besides Spider-Man that was single-player from them. But make no mistake, there are going to be a lot of big PlayStation single-player games too. So they do need to do better their next showcase. Whenever that next PlayStation showcase is, they got to start showing some of these big single-player games they're known for, because, they've gone a long time without showing them. You know what I mean? Outside of Spider-Man 2, it's been a long time since we've seen a brand new, huge AAA single-player announcement out of PlayStation Studios. You know what I mean? So, I think it's not because they're not making them. I just flat out think their studios aren't ready to show them. But the next PlayStation showcase, they got to start showing some of this stuff. They do. MD here has been a member now for 2 months. Re-upped the membership. Thank you so much, MD. Thank you so much. Saying Benji-Sales live chat. Let's go, baby. Yes, absolutely. I love these chats. I absolutely love them. I literally look forward to them every single week. I say it all the time. They're my favorite thing I do. I enjoy them more than Twitter. I like doing Twitter. I had a tweet the other day about how I was getting like... I really, really like Twitter, guys, and I shouldn't have tweeted what I did, but I'll tell you the reason why I tweeted it out. It was because while I was covering the Xbox showcase, every single thing I tweeted out, every single thing in real time, it was like, Fable shown, tons of complaints and negativity in the replies. Starfield looks great, tons of complaints. It's just like, it got overwhelming. It's like, Jesus, can you guys like anything? And I know tons of people do, guys. So I shouldn't have gotten so latched on, but it was really like, you always got to struggle with negativity online. But it was more just like during that showcase, I was like, mother of God, like some of you guys are literally never going to be happy. Like, what do people got to do? I'm not saying that you have to love that showcase, by the way. I'm just saying, like, if even that showcase, it's just all you're doing is complaining, we can have some, some things we didn't like. I'll be honest on a negative right now for me. I thought Hellblade 2 showing was weak. This game's been announced since literally the Xbox Series X was announced, and we're still not seeing the combat of this game. It's still just another trailer of Hellblade where it's just Senua essentially by herself, looking at the camera and being like, look at how pretty the game is, which is great. I'm super excited for Hellblade, and I know they did that one sort of gameplay showcase at the Game Awards, I think, but even that, we didn't see much of the combat, right? It was in-game, I do believe that, but it was mostly Senua, like, trying to go away from this big creature and throwing some spears, but we still have not really seen the core gameplay hook of Hellblade. I thought that was the weakest aspect of the show, actually, was Hellblade. So I'm not saying it's like got to be perfect and everyone's got to love everything, but it was more like some of these people, it was like, Jesus, you can't find anything you like about any of this? Like, then I don't know if you like video games. Like, do you really like video games? If you're always complaining about them, I'm not sure you actually like them. So, I got over it, but it was just annoying. It was just very annoying. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. Hey Benji, hope you are doing good. I got my ROG Ally Tuesday. I love streaming my games from my Xbox and my PS5 and playing WoW on my 80-inch TV plus. Sick, dude. Glad to hear that you really, really like it. You told us last chat that you were getting one. I hear ROG Ally is pretty sick. I hear it's pretty sick. It's pretty nice that it's got Windows like functionality built into it in regards to Game Pass. That makes things like super easy. I think that this could potentially become like a real expansion thing for the industry, these portable PC handhelds, whether it was Steam Deck, ROG Ally. It seems like we're starting to see this stuff really gain traction. I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where a PC handheld is going to sell like a Switch, you know what I mean? But it could become like a legit thing. When Steam Deck was first announced, there were some of those questions like, is this really going to find success? Are people really going to be that into like a dedicated PC gaming handheld? I know we've had like some streaming devices from NVIDIA and stuff before this. It's not like Steam Deck was the first ever, but it was like really starting to see companies double down on these portable PCs. And honestly, seems like it's doing well. I think this could be a good thing for the industry. So glad to hear you like it, Highlander. Wandering Dutch with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Wandering Dutch. Great to see you, man. Just a quick shout out to you, Benji. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you. That's very kind of you, Wandering Dutch. I hope you're doing well. I really, really, really appreciate that, man. And shout out to you as well. Shout out to the Xbox community. I'm happy for a lot of the Xbox content creators out there because I feel like you guys really finally got, because I know Wandering Dutch covers a lot of stuff, but Wandering Dutch also does a lot of Xbox coverage. And I'm happy for the Xbox guys. Like, you guys got a great showcase, something to really be excited about. I think that's great. Carlos Alvarado here with a 199 super chat. Games shown in Xbox showcases are Steam top sellers. Yeah, I know a ton of them. Starfield is already blowing up on Steam, and that thing doesn't come out until September. I think there was multiple other ones. I'd have to go back and look at the Steam top sellers again. But yeah, like I said, it was a strong showcase. Really, really was. A lot of the Xbox games there looked great. Yeah, a lot of these are going to do well on Steam as well. One thing to caution people, I'm expecting that the Starfield PC Steam numbers at launch are going to look really, really good, right? They're going to be big. But keep in mind, guys, like that's not even going to remotely represent the total player counts because PC Game Pass, Phil keeps talking repeatedly about how the biggest growth right now for Game Pass, period, is coming from PC, which makes sense, right? We've talked about this on the chat before. Even if Xbox had 50 million Xboxes out there, which they don't right now, but even if they did, 50 million's a lot for a console. It's nowhere comparable to the total install of gaming PCs out there, right? There's just so many more gaming PCs out there that it makes sense that that's just a way bigger growth vector for Game Pass right now than console is, because you got to also think that a lot of people that are on console they're already in the Xbox ecosystem. So for them, it makes sense that they would also be on Game Pass super rapidly. Whereas if you're a PC gamer, you're not necessarily in the Xbox ecosystem, right? You're just a PC gamer. You're not in any sort of walled garden. So it makes a lot of sense that PC is the area they can grow the most. So keep in mind, I'm expecting that Starfield Steam number is going to look really good. I think it's going to be a huge player count. But keep in mind, guys, that's not even going to be close to representing the total player count. Tons of people are going to be playing this on Game Pass, and those are not going to show up on the Steam player charts. So, yeah, but they're going to sell a lot of copies too. Because some people just really, really love Steam and they hate the Windows launcher for Microsoft, which I understand. It's not good. Ren Delano, 199 with super chat. It's okay, Benji. Negativity is everywhere, sadly. Yeah, it's a bummer. And again, I'm not one of these people that wants everyone to be sugar and rainbows about everything. In that moment, it was more just like, you always got any content creator will tell you, whether they're on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, you always have like some negativity, but it was just like, it was so annoying because I get alerts, from my comments, and it was just like, blah, blah, blah shown. This sucks, looks like crap. It's not going to look like this. Blah, blah, blah announced. This sucks. This looks like crap. It was just like, oh my God, dude. Jesus, guys. Be happy about something, please. And again, there's a ton of people that are too. It was just, there were so many of those comments. It was like, my God. Dead Planet with a 2 super chat. Is Hellblade 2 or Avowed smarter to start off 2024? It's a weird situation for Hellblade, dude. I don't know what to think about this game. like I said, I thought it was the weakest part of Xbox's showcase, not because the game doesn't look great, the visuals look great, but it was like, this game's been announced for so long. How do you guys not have something more substantial to show by now? I have not heard any rumblings of Hellblade 2 being in dev hell, but it is weird. Almost every showing of Hellblade is like the exact same thing. You know, like maybe the setting or something's a little different, but almost every time we see Hellblade, it's essentially Senua by herself with the camera panning around her in some sort of cinematic. Like, we still have never seen the gameplay hook of what Hellblade 2 is. And I know that they have shown some gameplay, so I'm not one of those people that have been like, they've never shown gameplay. No, there was that little segment at the Game Awards. But again, like, we didn't see the true core hook of what the combat or anything is. It was still Senua essentially like walking down a hallway, seeing this big giant creature, then walking away from the creature and throwing spears at it. It all looked beautiful, but like, the game's been announced for, I think, 4 years. I think they announced it in 2019, and every showing has looked almost the exact same. So it's like, you know, again, I'm not saying Hellblade 2 is going to be bad. I'm really, really looking forward to this game, but I don't know, man. It is weird that they still don't have anything more substantial to show off on this. So I would have told you Hellblade 2. Like, before this showcase, I would have been like, I think Hellblade 2 is much closer. I feel like that game's going to be a big win. It's going to be super awesome. After this showing, I don't know when Hellblade 2 is coming out, dude. Still could be early in the year, maybe, and maybe they just are really holding back from showing us stuff. But like a game like the Clockwork game that was announced from In Exile, that game's even further away, and yet what they showed was far more substantial. Like, there was actually clearly like gameplay moments in that trailer. This Hellblade one, again, is just yet another cinematic. So it's just weird. Hellblade to me is a weird situation. Like, I'm not surprised Fable wasn't more just raw gameplay, because this was the first time they ever showed anything in game on it. So I can at least somewhat understand, like, hey, you know, our very first showing of this isn't going to be a ton of straight direct gameplay. But Hellblade's different. They've shown this game multiple times, and it's still essentially the same thing every time they show it. Little weird. So we'll see. A Dead Planet, I'm not sure how that's going to shake out. If it's going to be Hellblade 2 or Avowed first, I don't know. Avowed looks further along, to be honest, which is a shock to me. You know, shocker. So it could be Avowed first, which I would have never predicted. I would have never predicted Avowed would launch before Hellblade, but it might. Digaburu here with their third super chat of the stream. My God, that's very generous. If ABK acquisition had happened, can you imagine the impact on Game Pass? The marketing with Xbox was also fantastic. Yeah, make no mistake, it's going to have a huge impact. Now, I've been one of these people that's a little more cautious about Call of Duty specifically, how much it'll boost Game Pass. You know, I've said that for a while. I think Call of Duty will have a big impact on Game Pass to some degree, but I don't know that it's going to be like the instant 30 million sub increase like some people have thought, because Call of Duty is so big. People think automatically Call of Duty is this huge franchise. That means it's going to instantly massively boost game subs. And I've said for a long time, like, I don't actually really know about that. Like, I don't know how many people are just going to stop buying Call of Duty on PlayStation because they can get it on Game Pass now on Xbox. I feel like most of those PlayStation players that are just PlayStation guys are just going to buy Call of Duty on PlayStation. Like, nothing's going to change there. And I don't know how many people that like are on Xbox specifically and aren't subbed to Game Pass are now suddenly going to sub to Game Pass specifically because Call of Duty. Now, again, I'm not telling you no one's going to sub to Game Pass from Call of Duty, but I think people might be surprised. I think it's not quite the impact on subs that some think. Now, what I have said, I think Blizzard is actually the big deal here. I think a lot of people are messing up thinking it's Call of Duty. I don't think so. I think Call of Duty is going to potentially make more money for Microsoft. But if we're talking specifically about Game Pass subscribers, if I look at Call of Duty and I look at all the people on PlayStation that play Call of Duty, they're probably just going to still be the exact same. They're probably not going to move at all, and they're probably just going to buy Call of Duty every year. You're going to get some that are dual console owners maybe that'll buy it on or sub to Game Pass and get Call of Duty. I'm telling you, it's not as big as you think. Call of Duty is big on PC, but it's not like crazy big. It's big, but it's not like it is on console where like Call of Duty utterly dominates. But you know what is huge on PC and could pull in a ton of subscribers from PC? Blizzard. Look at Diablo. Look at the freaking nuclear thing that Diablo's doing. Look at, again, people love to say Overwatch is a dead game. It's not at all. If there's strong integration with Overwatch 2 into Game Pass, whatever future Blizzard games are going to come, right? WoW expansions, if they can find a way to incorporate WoW into Game Pass, like this sort of stuff is going to drive major PC subscriber growth, in my opinion. So I actually think it's funny. The courts have been so obsessed with Call of Duty, which I somewhat understand because of the total money. So that's the thing that stands out to you. But if I'm looking at just straight subscriber growth, just that number, just subscribers, I think Blizzard's bigger than Call of Duty. I said it. I think it's bigger for subs. I'm not saying Blizzard's going to make them more money. I'm saying specifically subscriber growth. I actually think Blizzard drives more subs than Call of Duty does. So, but yeah, it'll be big no matter what. All right. Super chats are cleared, so now I can get to a lot more member questions. So I got to make sure to hit those. The super chats popped off. The memberships have been crazy in terms of like members in chat. So let me make sure to get those members. That's why you guys get those memberships. Leday's here with a channel member. Hey, Benji, are you surprised to see the mixed reception to Avowed? I thought it didn't look great at first, but it's grown on me after a few days and the extended showcase. You know what, Leday's? Here's what I'll say. I don't love the art direction for Avowed. I think it's going to probably be a super fun game. Seems like a cool RPG. But I also didn't love the way the game looked. But here's what I'll say about that, Leday's. I actually think it's a really good thing that they showed this in the way they did at this showcase, because it gives them time to pivot a little bit if they really think that the art direction might not be as liked as people thought, because this thing is potentially a year away, right? They said 2024. They didn't say anything about when. That could be early 2024. Could also be summer 2024, which is a full year away, or it could be fall 2024, which is more than a year away. And that's a decent amount of time to pivot some stuff. Now, you can't just completely remake a game in a year. There's no way. But there are some things they could do with the art direction to move things a little bit. And I am actually in agreement with a lot of people that didn't quite love the way Avowed looked, like just the visuals of it. I thought it looked... You know, here's the thing. It didn't look cohesive to me. Like, there's some shots of the game that looked completely different than other shots of the game. I think that needs a little more cohesion to it. And look at Starfield. Starfield looked drastically better a year later. Now, that's not going to be the case for every game. But if you go back and look at Starfield last June and the presentation they showed last June, and you look at what they did at this June showcase, dude, Starfield looked way better. Like, to me, it's not even close. Like, the actual jump of polish and cohesiveness and the gameplay, even, like, everything looked so much better. Like, delaying Starfield was such a good choice. You know, we talk about this a lot. Don't rush games out. Delaying Starfield was, listen, it sucks that people had to wait even longer, but if you just look at the jump that game had with an extra year of development, it's huge. It looks so much better. So Avowed still has quite a ways. Unless this thing is early in the year, it's still got at least probably a year of development left. They can kind of pivot some of this stuff. You can't completely remake, like, you know, the gameplay or anything like that, but I didn't think that looked like it needed to really be remade. To me, it was more of like an art direction thing, and you can tighten some of that up with a year of development time. So yeah, I can understand the reception to it. I can. No, I didn't think it looked like trash. I wasn't like, oh, wow, Avowed looks like a trash game. To me, it was more just like, I don't know if I love the visual style of this game. Perfect Shogun channel member saying, what's up, Benji? What's up, Perfect Shogun? And Perfect Shogun also says, what is going to be the first thing you do in Starfield, aside from character creation, of course? You know, first thing, I'm going to kind of focus on the story a bit for a while. You know, I'm super excited to try out all of this crazy exploration that they're showing for this game. But the very first thing I'm going to do is definitely dive into the story. I love stories in games. So I'm not going to be one of those people that like does the intro and then instantly leaves to just go explore and not focus on story. Because some people do that with Bethesda games. That's the joy of Bethesda games, is you can just do whatever you want. Essentially, once the intro's done for Fallout 4 or Skyrim or whatever, like that is part of why people love Bethesda games. You go through that opening sequence and then it's just like, go do whatever you want. You don't even have to come back to the main story for 50, 100 hours if you don't want to. And some people legit play them like that. They get through the intro and then they just waltz off and start exploring. For me, early on, I'm definitely going to be diving into the story, diving into like what's going on here. At some point, I'm definitely going to just start exploring. I do that in Skyrim and Fallout and all of them too. But definitely going to stick to the main path for at least a little bit. All right, so we're going to wrap up the first poll, and yeah, I am not surprised by this. If Starfield is high quality, will it have a big hardware impact? I asked you guys. 66% of you say yes, it will be big. I am in agreement with you, so that's a pretty hefty amount, more than half. The other 31% of you say yes, but not a huge amount, which is, again, a fair stance. I'm not saying you're wrong. But you still think, yeah, it's going to move some hardware. Only 2% say no, it won't move hardware. Yeah, exactly. This game is going to seriously have hardware impact, as long as it's as good as it looks. All right, so we'll end that poll. And now, let's do another poll. And I'll ask you, who had the best summer showcase? We'll go Xbox, PlayStation, Summer Game Fest, or we'll say Ubisoft. No offense, I'm not even going to include Capcom here. They were terrible. And I love Capcom, but that was a really bad thing. They didn't have to do that. So, who had the best summer showcase? Xbox, PlayStation, Summer Game Fest, or Ubisoft? For me, it's Xbox. For me, it's easily Xbox. But some of those other ones were good. I thought Ubisoft had a good show, to be honest. I really enjoyed the Ubisoft show. I thought it was the best Ubisoft show in a long time, guys. Long time. I thought they had a very good showcase. I was surprised by Ubisoft. Didn't expect to like their show as much as I did. But to me, it was Xbox. All right, where we at? Where we at? Split at 89 says, we as gamers are eating good no matter the platform. That is the truth, man. You know, you couldn't say that about Xbox last year, you know, and I've been honest about that to the point where some Xbox fans got mad at me. But I'm always trying to just keep it real with you guys. They had a rough year last year, and Phil himself has even said it, right? So you couldn't say that, you know, we're eating good as gamers, I would say last year, right? I don't feel that way in terms of like Xbox. You could on third party, but I meant like in terms of like first party. Not great. I loved Pentiment last year, but there just wasn't a lot there. I will say, though, looking at Xbox now, Starfield looks great. After seeing as much as we've seen from Starfield, I'd be shocked if that game's not great. You know what I mean? It's one thing when you see like a 5-minute trailer, and it might look great in that trailer, but you're like, I mean, I've still only seen 5 minutes. I mean, we'll see. It looks good, but I've still not seen much. After seeing 45 minutes of the game, I mean, I'd be shocked if it's not good. Shocked now. After seeing that much of it, I'm very confident it's going to be good. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed to be a 90-plus Metacritic. I actually do think it has a chance of that now. But, like, to me, I'd be shocked if this isn't mid-80s or higher. Like, if this thing comes out and got, like, a 70 Metacritic, I would be truly shocked after how much we've seen of it. Forza is going to be great. You know, it's Forza. They're pretty consistently great games. A lot of big stuff announced for next year. Yeah, and PlayStation has a ton of stuff. Nintendo, we always know, has a ton of stuff. Yeah, right now, it's looking like no matter what platform you've got, you got some good stuff coming. Ken B here with a member question. The one thing missing from the showcase was Nintendo. Yeah, it was a bummer. Do you think we'll get a Direct or Games news later this year, or will they stay quiet until Switch successor announcement? Can be the rumblings, and this isn't me with insider info, it's just people like Christopher Dring, I know, has said it. I believe that VGC has said it. The rumblings are there is no big Nintendo Direct this year in the summer. So I'd love to see it. Nintendo has hardly anything announced, but it sounds like they're skipping the summer, and there are some rumblings that maybe in July they're doing something. But the wording that's being used is that it's either a partner showcase or an indie showcase, not really the big booming Nintendo one that you guys, that we're waiting for. My hunch can be, assuming these people in the know are actually correct, is that it's all being held for a big fall direct because that's when they'll announce the Switch successor. That's what I'm guessing. If they truly skip the summer, I think that's why. I think that's going to be Nintendo this fall announces the Switch successor, and then they're going to do a huge blowout of games there. Doesn't mean I think it's launching this fall, because it's not. I think it's launching next year. But, they may feel that it's time to finally, announce this thing and show some games for it. And I've already said I expect all of these Nintendo games to be cross-gen, right, at first. There's no reason to launch Switch 2 only games from first party with that install base size of Switch 1. So no matter what, all these announcements will apply to Switch 1 as well, I think. But that's my hunch, assuming this is all true. It's because Nintendo's gearing up for a fall reveal of their new console and games that will be on it. That'll be on both. That's my guess. But it's not inside information. It's just a guess. Blazing Flame, when do you think PlayStation will have another big showcase? Oh, what's up? Samuel Tolbert's in the chat. Good buddy of mine. Great to see you. When do you think PlayStation will have another big showcase? I think they are going to show some stuff for sure before this year's over, but I don't know if it's going to be a showcase. Maybe some of that will be at the Game Awards. Maybe they'll do like an individual announcement during a state of play for a game. But I'm not personally expecting a flat-out showcase. I'd love to see it, but showcase probably not till next year. But I think you will get some PlayStation announcements still this year, just probably later in the year at Game Awards. Maybe they'll have something at Gamescom. Maybe they'll announce a game during a state of play, something like that. Sorry, I'm just going through the chat right now. I want to make sure members get their stuff. Humishley Ford. Starfield looks crazy with a channel member. I don't know if I will be able to ever complete with how ambitious it is. Yeah, it's crazy. If the game is as good as it looks, it might be the Skyrim of this decade, especially with mods too. I was blown away by Starfield. I'm just flat out going to say it. I was excited for Starfield. I thought what they showed last year looked pretty cool. I love Skyrim. I love the Fallout games. But I was like super excited for Starfield, but it wasn't like I thought, wow, Starfield is like guaranteed to be like in my top games of the year and like my most anticipated game until this showcase. I mean, it looks great. So, Hamish, I couldn't agree more. The ambition is insane. Dark X, I think that's what his handle is, Dark X1 or something like that, from Digital Foundry put out a tweet. And he was like, during the direct was going, he's like, how do you even test this game? Like, how do you even do QA for this? And I'm in the same boat. I'm like, it's so ambitious. How do you even make this game? It's crazy. So yeah, it looks amazing. If it's as good as it looks, I'm telling you, Starfield's going to be huge. Huge. Luis SR, member question. Hey, Benji, do you feel any change in the perception of the Final Fantasy 16 after the demo? I felt a bunch of negativity before, but the demo made a 180 on the situation. I think people seem to love the demo. I skipped it. I'm not going to play it since we're so close to launch. I usually don't do that. I'll play like betas and stuff for stuff that's like really far away. Once we're down to that last like month, I usually skip demos. I don't think there's anything wrong with people playing them. I think it's a great idea that they release these. But like me personally, I'm just like, the game is right around the corner. I'm just going to wait and play the game. But I will say people playing the demo seem to be praising it. So that's good for them. That's good. Final Fantasy 16 looks in a bit of a weird spot from a sales perspective. We talked about this on the last chat. Doesn't look as strong as you would maybe hope. So we'll see. hopefully things are going to come together, and it really, really does super well, because I'm super excited for it, and I want it to do really, really well. So we'll see. Highlander, remember this Starfield Collector's Edition sold out at GameStop and Best Buy, and that's like $300. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This thing's going to do well, dude. It's going to do really, really well. Even the Collector's Edition, despite the game being a Game Pass Day 1 game, like that Collector's Edition sold out like pretty much instantly. Yeah, there's a lot of excitement for it. It's going to do really, 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 really good. All right, has all members gotten a question answered? Nope. Guancos here. What's up, man? Was surprised to hear Wolong performed poorly. Most of the players were likely from Game Pass. Any hope for the DLC to turn things around? Yeah, Wolong seems like it was just kind of... I don't know if it looks like it was like a Giga Bomb or anything, but it also doesn't look like it was like a blow up in terms of sales. Yeah, I suspect you're right that most of the players did come from Game Pass on that game. Wolong seemed to me the whole time as a game that didn't look like it was going to be a massive hit. I think there's a little bit of a question if we're starting to get too many of these... I don't know if like medieval is the right word, but of these like games set in Asia, whether that's China or Japan, all looking very similar. Like, even if the gameplay is radically different, there are so many games right now that are coming up that's like, you know, ancient feudal Japan, ancient feudal China. There's like a ton of them. I wonder if people need to be careful to not oversaturate that style of game, because I feel like for some people that might be starting to blend together, because there are a lot of them, either that have already come out or have been announced and are coming. There's just a lot. So, we'll see. We'll see. Benji with a member question. Benji, Xbox sales a 1,300% increase on Amazon France following the Xbox showcase. Is this a sign that Microsoft really had a turning point? Can't remember such change in perception overnight. I think it absolutely propelled the brand to a lot better look than they were just in. Now, we don't really know what that 1,300% increase means, right? Is that coming from selling 5 consoles to now selling, you know, whatever the difference would be? Or is it like an okay baseline with a huge jump? Like, we don't know the specific number from Amazon specifically that means. What I will say, as I've been saying, if Starfield's as good as it looks, yes, it is going to help turn the brand image around, absolutely. That doesn't mean I'm predicting it immediately outsells PS5. It just means, yes, I absolutely agree that this showcase was this is what Xbox needed. They needed a good show, and they did it. Now the games just actually have to deliver. It's one thing to have a good showcase. The games have to still be good. Highlander, Marcus, why didn't you report Skyrim 60 million sales number? Because there's just a lot of stuff going on, man. People all the time get mad at me. They're like, and I'm not saying you're mad, Marcus, but all the time people will be like, Benji, why didn't you tweet this one specific thing? I have a life. I have a lot going on, man. I don't just live on Twitter. I'm on Twitter a lot, but it's like, if I miss something and it's been already out for a few hours and a lot of other accounts have already tweeted it, it's like, you know, the info's already out there. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people still do not realize I do not get paid for any of this. Like, I'm not an actual journalist. I'm a random dude, right? I have a 40-hour-a-week job working retail. All of this other stuff I do, it's just on top of it. Like, and a lot of people on Twitter think I'm like a paid journalist guy. Like, this is what I do 24 hours. It's like, no, I have a job and I'm working and I'm trying to cover things while I'm working for 8 hours a day. You know, when I can't always be on Twitter or my boss is going to fire me. Like, so that's why, like, you know, it was just one of those things. By the time I saw Skyrim sold 60 million, there was already a ton of other accounts that had covered it. It was like hours old information. And it's like, by then, sure, I could have sent out the tweet, but you know, I just have a lot going on, man. I can't cover everything. And I'm not saying you're mad at me, Marcus. I just see people say that sometimes. They're like, wow, Benji must like be mad at this dev or this game, or he must hate PlayStation because he didn't tweet this one specific thing. And it's like, guys, I don't do this full time. 10001 with a 5 super chat. I was hoping for a roadmap from PlayStation for first-party games. I loved Xbox's roadmap. Is there a problem with Sony's development time? No, it's a problem with everyone's development time. Because keep in mind, Xbox was just in this literally exact same situation last year. Like, literally in 2022, nothing came out. So I would say it's not a problem with Sony's dev time specifically. It's an industry-wide problem. That's why I said at the top of the stream, whenever Matt Booty is like, yeah, games take 4, 5, 6 years now. I'm like, that is definitely true. Matt Booty is not lying to you. He's being 100% honest and correct. My response to that would be, that is very unhealthy. And I don't have the answers on how to change that. But I think 4 years is okay. I've been saying this a lot. If we could get to a point where the average, I'm not saying every game, if the average dev cycle was 4 years, because the days of 2 to 3, like Matt Booty said, I do think that is truly over unless you're aiming for like a AA sized game. But if you're doing a true AAA project, the odds of getting it out the door in 2 to 3 years are close to zero. There's a few studios who still manage to pull it off, but it's very, very rare, right? But if we could get to even 4, I think the industry is pretty healthy at that spot. The problem is that a lot of games are taking much more than 4. It's not like, oh, the average is 4 years. It's no, we're creeping up to where it's not like 5, 6, and some even 7 years. That is really bad. That is like really, really bad and so dangerous for the studios and the publishers. That's dangerous for everybody. Like everyone involved. It don't matter if you're PlayStation, if you're Nintendo, if you're independent studio, if you have 400 people that work for you, or you have 20 people that work for you, like anyone. It is so dangerous pushing dev cycles out that long. And I do not know what the answer is. So I always try to make that clear. But like, this is not something we should be celebrating. This is something we should actually like be actively looking at as an industry to be like, how do we fix this? Not like, that's just the reality, like we have to accept it. What can we do to try and bring that down? And that's not easy. As I always say, this is not me preaching to the devs. I don't have the answer. You guys know better than me. It's just, it's so dangerous, man. It's so dangerous. All it takes is one of them to flop. That's all it takes. That's literally all it takes for any studio. Naughty Dog. If Naughty Dog works on a game for 7 years, and I'm not saying they're going to, but as prestigious as Naughty Dog is, if Naughty Dog takes 7 years to make a game, and in the very slim chance it bombs critically and doesn't sell well, you know what kind of impact that has on Naughty Dog? Huge. It don't matter if you're Naughty Dog. That's a very bad situation to be in. Okay? So the beautiful thing about a shorter dev cycle automatically decreases budget. It's just automatic. The shorter it takes to make a game, the less the budget is. It's not instantly going to shrink your budget to nothing. But if you have the same amount of people working on a game and it takes 4 years or it takes 7 years, the 4-year game is automatically cheaper because you're paying less people for less time to make the game. So A, it just makes the budgets come down. And then B, also, it's faster to pivot if you F up. And the chance that you screw up, at least we can now pivot faster, right? No, it took us 4 years. It's going to take another 4 years. That super sucks, but we can turn around quicker. If it takes you 6 years to make a game and then another 6 years to come off of it, bro, that is so dangerous. The industry's got to figure it out, man. We should not be celebrating these dev times. Buck with the member question. Call of Duty will drive more Game Pass subs. It comes out every year. I just don't agree. I think it's going to be Blizzard. I don't think that Call of Duty is the Game Pass sub jumper that people think it is. I really don't. I really, really don't. We'll see, but I really don't think it's going to. It's going to increase. I'm not saying it's not going to add millions. It is. It's going to add millions of subscribers probably to Game Pass. I don't know that it adds 20 to 30 million instantly. I'm very skeptical. A lot of people play Call of Duty on PlayStation, and they're not going to leave just because it's on Game Pass. Like, they already own a PlayStation. Like, they're not going to just be like, this is on Game Pass now. I'm going to go buy an Xbox, and I'm also going to buy an additional Game Pass sub just because it's on there now. No, they're just going to buy Call of Duty on PlayStation like they always do because it's only $70. And that's cheaper than buying an Xbox and subscribing to Game Pass. You know what I mean? You can drive a lot of subs on PC, though, through Blizzard because they already got a PC, and they already love Blizzard. So you can just get them to sign up for it. I'm skeptical that Call of Duty really is the one that pushes subs in that Activision deal. But we'll see. Could be wrong. I'm always willing to be wrong. Nudeski with a 2 super chat. Hey, what was your number one surprise of the showcases? Oh, that's a great question. What was my number one surprise? Probably Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, it looks freaking sweet. Outlaws looks awesome. I would say Ubisoft in general. Avatar looks freaking great too. And that was running on PS5. I've seen all these people be like, oh, these Ubisoft games are definitely going to get downgraded. Now, Outlaws, we don't really know. That was confirmed to be running on PC, and that's still, 2024. That has a lot of time to get hit with a downgrade. Avatar is probably definitely not getting downgraded. That game was literally all the footage was from PS5, so we know it was running on console. And then B, that game comes out in less than 6 months. I don't see why it would get downgraded. We've already seen the game coming out on PS5 or playing on PS5, and it ain't far away. Like I could see it being potentially downgraded if they showed this running on PS5 and it was 2 years away. Okay, but like this game's not far away at all. It's literally like 5 months and a couple weeks away. Like what we saw is probably literally legit what it's going to look like on a PS5, and it looked gorgeous. So my biggest surprise, Ubisoft. It wasn't a perfect show, but Mirage looks super good. Outlaws looks awesome. Avatar looks super cool. Yeah, Ubisoft. I've been critical of Ubisoft. You guys know this. I've been tough on Ubisoft the last couple of years. They were a pleasant surprise. Ubisoft did good. Dead Planet with a 2 super chat. Would Towerborn Flight Sim count as big first party? Flight Sim, yeah. People don't realize Flight Sim is actually really popular. It's on the Game Pass most played list like all the time. Towerborn we'll have to see. I don't know how that game's going to do. Looks cool, but also doesn't look to me like something that will have like huge engagement. I could be wrong. It has co-op and people really like co-op games. So it could be one of those scenarios where when Towerborn launches, like suddenly everyone loves it and it blows up. I will say social media metrics for Towerborn are not big, but they are for Flight Sim. So Flight Sim, yes. Flight Sim 2024, that's a legit big deal. People really like those. Towerborn could be a super quality game, but I'm not expecting a lot of engagement or metrics out of that unless it surprises. Bigelow 25 with a 5 super chat. The weird dichotomy of good Capcom games, but terrible showcases. Yeah, it's so true, Bigelow. That showcase was so bad. They were the worst. Like how I personally would rank the summer showcase shows, Capcom's dead last. It was so bad. Capcom is an amazing publisher. I've been singing their praises, but that showcase was rough. A lot of it was stuff that's already been shown. It was like, oh, this is tough. So Capcom dead last. Next up, I personally have Summer Game Fest and PlayStation as basically a tie. I thought there was good parts of both of those shows, but there was also stuff there that like I didn't love. I thought the pacing of both those shows weren't necessarily great. I thought the announcements weren't necessarily like amazing. So again, I don't think those were super bad, but to me they're kind of equivalent. So it's Capcom last, then PlayStation and Summer Game Fest kind of tied. Then I'd go Ubisoft and then Xbox. That's how I would rank them. But yeah, that Capcom showcase was rough. 100-001 with a 2 super chat. Benji, truth hurts. You're just being honest. Yeah, I try to do my best. The one thing that I want people to definitely always take away from me is I'm just never BSing them. There's a lot of content creators out there, and I won't name names, but they do a lot of BSing for clicks. I'm just going to be honest with you. Not going to name names, but there's a lot of people, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, half the stuff they're saying they don't even believe, or if they do believe, it's like a way more mild version of it, and they just say stuff because it gets clicks. Rage gets clicks. I'm just being honest with you guys. You make a rage thing or you make a controversial thing, and that's where you get the clicks. My most watched video ever was me, kind of disagreeing with Phil, right? Kind of butting head to head a little bit on something. It's not a coincidence that the most watched thing I ever had was a somewhat controversial topic. And that's just the truth of YouTube algorithms. That's the truth of Twitter algorithms. And people will play up to that to get clicks and views. I will never do that. So I will always tell you just really how I feel, not a gassed up version of it. So, some people will like that, some people won't. But the one thing I want people to know is I'm never just being dishonest. Doesn't mean I'm always right. Like sometimes my opinion's wrong, but it's just like, I'm never going to play to clicks. Not my style. Not interested in it. It's why the people like I most admire in the industry are not content creators. No offense. I really like a lot of content creators, but the people that I think are doing the best true work, not their personality, true work. It's people like Jason Schreier. It's people like Rebecca Valentine over at IGN. She does some great reporting. It's a lot of the stuff that comes out of gamesindustry.biz. It's Stephen Totillo. It's like that real journalistic side of it. That's the thing I look at more personally than random YouTube video. And that stuff's all super valuable. I love Kind of Funny. I love Easy Allies, all that sort of stuff. I'm not dogging it. I'm just saying I really like more factually, facts-based stuff. Mr. Too Opinionated with a 2 super chat. You're our random dude / salute. I have to remind people all the time. I'm just a random guy. I'll have people be like, yeah, you're being a journalist chill or something like that. And I'm like, I'm not a journalist. I'm a random guy. I've never even been invited to a preview event. I am literally a random dude. So thank you for that, Mr. Too Opinionated. 10001 with a 5 super chat. WoW going to Game Pass on PC will move people. Get WoW along with the other games in Game Pass, the subs will jump. What I could see them doing for WoW is I'm highly skeptical they would include WoW's subscription into Game Pass. That I am doubtful of. I think one thing they could do, though, for Game Pass integration with WoW is just have every expansion on there. Every upcoming expansion, every expansion they do, every past expansion. If you are playing WoW and you sub to Game Pass, you are always going to have that expansion, all expanded content. Again, I'd be surprised if they rolled WoW's sub in there. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but that would a little surprise me. But they could do that and then have stuff like, hey, you get extra mounts or whatever, every once in a while through Game Pass. Because Game Pass has those they call them Game Pass rewards. If you're a sub to Game Pass, you'll get extra Halo weapon skins and stuff. They could do things like that for both Overwatch and even Diablo and WoW, and give a reason for people to sub that are into those Blizzard games. But yeah, it'd be big. It'd be big. Oni X with a 2 super chat. Hi, Benji. By social metrics, how well did Xbox show did? Super good. PlayStation just automatically has higher social metrics almost always than Xbox on everything. And that just makes sense, right? Because I see a lot of times people compare stuff. Whenever I'll tweet out blah, blah, blah did blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah did blah, blah, blah. And I'll see people be like, wow, look at how Sony, will just dominate Xbox or whatever on social metrics. To me, that's never a surprise. PlayStation's a bigger brand than Xbox. That's the default, right? Xbox has to make up the ground. A lot of times people look at PlayStation and Xbox as being on equivalent footing. They're just not. They're just not. PlayStation's an automatically bigger brand. Now, it doesn't mean that it's an excuse for Xbox if things go poorly. Not at all. It's just if you're in a default state, PlayStation's a bigger brand than Xbox. They have more subscribers on their YouTube channel than Xbox by far. They have more Twitter followers than Xbox. They sell more consoles than Xbox. It's just a bigger brand. So Xbox has to make the gap up. So what I will say is by Xbox standards, the showcase is doing very, very well in general. Yeah, a lot of their announcements, a lot of their reveals, doing good by Xbox standards. Is it as big as the biggest PlayStation reveals and showcases we've seen? No. Those still tend to have a little bit bigger engagement. It's a bigger brand. But by Xbox standards, Oni X, looking good. Looking good for social metrics. Yeah, absolutely. Game Pass perks. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Perfect Shogun. Game Pass perks. Okay. Every member's got a question answered. All super chats are cleared. Let me finally hit some freebies as we get ready to go out in the next 20 minutes or so. Thank you guys for an incredible turnout. And thanks for just all the support. We're not done yet. All right. I'm going to get to some free questions finally. And as for the poll, wow, this is domination, and I'm not surprised at all. I said, who had the best summer showcase? I asked you guys. Right now, 82% of you say Xbox, 9% of you say Ubisoft, 5% of you say Summer Game Fest, and only 4% of you say PlayStation. You know what? I really respect that, because I know a lot of PlayStation, people watch my streams and stuff, and a lot of Nintendo fans, and not, I have Xbox fans too, but for Xbox to be that dominant in that poll, that really shows like they really did just have the best show. Doesn't mean it has to be for everyone. It's all opinion based, but it shows that a great show. Like, to be that far ahead, it's not like they were even 50%. We're at 82% on this poll. Yeah. Yeah, it was a strong show from Xbox. Absolutely. Randy Norman. Hey, Benji, Xbox did an amazing job this at their summer showcase. Deep dive into Starfield and laying out 2024 first-party roadmap. Do you think Xbox will do another Direct this year or wait for early next year? I think Starfield will be a massive system seller for Xbox. Do you think they will also do a bundle for Starfield with the X included? Also, what is your opinion on the 2024 Xbox lineup? Okay, so a couple of things here. Will they do another Direct? I mean, maybe. A developer Direct? I could see them doing that at the end of the year. I would say, here's what I'll say, Randy. If Hellblade and Avowed are in the first half of 2024, which we have no idea now, if they are, I kind of could see them doing a developer Direct at the end of the year, but they might save it for early January like they did. Wasn't it January this year when they did one? Either way, that developer Direct went really, really well for them. The Starfield one people loved. The one in January, I think it was January. I keep saying January. It's January or February. People loved that. That had Forza and, those games there. It's a thing that works for them. I could see them doing another one with Hellblade and Avowed. The question is when that would be. Either late this year or early next year, probably. And in regards to, will they do a Starfield bundle? They bundled Diablo. They bundled Forza Horizon 5. Maybe. I don't think they'll do a Starfield bundle with a custom console. They would have announced that, but maybe they'll do a pack-in like they did with Forza and Diablo. Maybe. And opinion on the 2024 lineup? Well, right now, it's Flight Sim, Towerborn, Avowed, and Hellblade. I will say they have no Starfield equivalent next year as of now, like in terms of like things that I think will be truly ginormous. I don't see any of those games being like that. I was very confident in Hellblade, but that is slipping by the day. Like in terms of just being a great game. Avowed, I think, will do well, but I don't think it'll be a Starfield level game, but good. I think it'll do well. Bigger than Outer Worlds, I think. Flight Sim will do good. Towerborn, I don't expect to be huge. So I would say their 2024 roadmap right now, to me, looks solid. It doesn't look like a ton of gigantic games, but it looks solid. I would say it's solid. That's a solid. It's way better than 2022, and that's what the bar is right now. Right now for the Xbox, the bar is never repeat 2022 again. And that looks way better than 2022. So I would say solid year. Doesn't look like the biggest thing I've ever seen, but a really solid year. And they said that there might still be some more stuff too that they haven't confirmed. So there could be some other stuff there too. But out of the games we know, even as of now, solid. Timmer72299, hope you're doing well, Benji. No question today. Doing good, Timmer. Right now with the whole mental health struggle, it's a day-by-day thing. And yeah, good though. Good today. Gamefire, Benji, what do you think about TV shows and movie trailers show up in video game showcases? I think it's bad. It should only be about games and nothing more. Yeah, that Twisted Metal at this PlayStation Showcase really was rough. Um, to me, man, that's an interesting question. I think it might be okay if you have something like as PlayStation Productions you're looking at and you're like, this is going to be fire, like The Last of Us was. Some people are going to hate on The Last of Us, whatever. The show was a giga massive hit, huge hit. Um, if you got something like that, like you're just looking at it, because they know, honestly, most of this stuff, they don't know when they go in to make it, but once you start hitting that editing room and you're putting everything together, you usually pretty much know if you got a stinker or not by that point. Not when you go into a project, but by the time you're finishing the project, you're like, ooh, think we might have a stinker here. And I'm going to be honest, Twisted Metal looks like a stinker. That should not have been there. I think that just detracted from the show. If it's something that you're in the editing room and you're like, we got something special, I think it might be okay to include it. But starting to sprinkle in stuff that might not be hot, like Twisted Metal, yeah, that could have a negative impact. So I don't think they should have done that there, no. I think putting Twisted Metal in that show was a mistake. Gran Turismo, I think, actually looks like it could be a pretty solid movie. So that one I can kind of get. Twisted Metal did look rough, though, man. Rough. Cameron Swear, hey Benji, what's your week or weekend predictions on Final Fantasy 16? They're not that high. Japan is just really not coming through for that game. It's unfortunate, but I think Final Fantasy 16 might struggle early on. The West, I feel still pretty good about it. The problem is Japan. And like I talked about before, Final Fantasy is a different franchise than many. For many, many, many big AAA franchises, Japan's a rounding error. Like, it's not that important. I know that sounds like crazy, but it's not. For a lot of big AAA games from the West, it doesn't really matter how they perform in Japan, right? Final Fantasy, though, is way different, right? Final Fantasy is a Japanese game, and also it's a huge chunk of its sales come directly from Japan. And right now, Japan is not looking hot. So maybe this demo will turn things around, but I think 16 could come in way below 7 Remake and 15. Yeah, it's looking like that could happen. I suspect it'll do pretty well in the West, though. I just think Japan might really hurt it, unless this demo really turns things around there. Sounds PP7, did you like Star Wars Outlaws? Can it match or eclipse the sales of Jedi Survivors, the first open world Star Wars game, or is playing as a Jedi with the Force crucial for that kind of broad appeal? I thought Outlaws looked amazing, fantastic, blew me away. I think it's going to be huge. The social metrics for it are huge. It's the biggest game out of the summer shows. It really is. I've been looking at like the compiled views, except for Spider-Man, because I kind of forgot about Sony, to be honest. So Spider-Man is the raw biggest. People will point to my marathon tweet. A lot of the marathon views came from ads. Not all of it. There was a lot of people that like actually watched the marathon video as well, but marathon's a bit artificially inflated from ad runs. So the number one biggest out of all the summer shows was Spider-Man 2. The next biggest is Star Wars Outlaws, and then after that probably Starfield. I'll have to do the compilation, but regardless, Outlaws was huge metrics. So it's going to do very, very well. Will it do as good as Survivor and Fallen Order? I think that's a bit of a tough ask. Because, like you said, the pull of a Jedi. I don't know. I'm right now, I'm going to say it doesn't quite do Fallen Order or Survivor numbers, but that could be wrong. But still huge. I think it'll be huge. Yeah, huge, 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 huge. The metrics are excellent. We're gonna go for about 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna go. Michael Yu, looks like Xbox may have finally turned the corner. An overall solid showcase with a good pipeline of what's to come. Nice bump in latest Japanese hardware sales thanks to Diablo. Starfield hype is real. a healthy Xbox is sorely needed as competition ultimately benefits the consumer. Just look at how solid PS Plus Extra has been as proof. You're 100% correct, Michael Yu. I don't think PS Plus looks like it does right now without Game Pass. The only thing Microsoft needs to do now to stick the landing is ensuring the pipeline of first-party titles are all super high quality. Michael Yu, agree with you on every single point. I don't think it's a good thing for the industry when Xbox is really, really struggling. Just like I don't think it'd be good if PlayStation or Nintendo. I want everyone to be healthy. I want the whole industry healthy. And I agree with you. It does look like Xbox is finally starting to turn that corner. But as you said, it's not fully turned that corner until these games are consistently good. If Starfield comes out and it's as good as it looks, if Forza's good, it will be. It's Forza. They're always good. If Hellblade 2 sticks the landing, you know, if Avowed's good, like, yeah, we're finally there. So it looks like it. They just got to deliver now. Sleepy Mailman. Hi, Benji. I know there's been a lot of noise being made online about this, but do you think Sony knows about the negative reaction to their showcase, and do you think they care? Yes and yes. I don't think they're definitely aware of it because some of them, like Herman Holst, are on Twitter, and there's no way they missed it because they are getting tagged like crazy from people complaining. So yes, they are aware, and yes, I think they care, but I don't think they care to the point where it's like we must suddenly shift the brand and radically change things. I don't think it's like that. I do think, though, that they're aware of it, and they're probably not happy about it. You know, definitely not. You want these shows to be a home run. A lot of work goes into these showcases. It's not something that just gets made in like a day. So, yeah, I think that they care. I think that they know. But again, PlayStation brand is still super healthy. They're still selling tons of PS5s. They're selling tons of games. They're super successful. So it's not something where they're like, we got to radically change. No more games as a service. It's not going to be like that, guys. But they'll want to do better next time, yeah, for sure. There ain't no way Herman doesn't see this stuff because he was even getting tagged on some of my tweets. Like, literally, even in the replies, I had people tagging Herman Holst to be like, Herman, look at this. And I wasn't even that mean. I was just saying a few little things about, like, you know, just be careful. Don't go too far down the games as a service rabbit hole. And he was getting tagged in my tweets, and they were tame. So I can only imagine the stuff Herman was getting tagged in on other tweets. Sounds PP7. How well do you see the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection selling? And what games do you anticipate being in a Volume 2? Do Metal Gear Solid 4 and Twin Snakes have any chance at all of being unshackled from their OG hardware? Well, I'd love Metal Gear Solid 4 to get unshackled. You know what's crazy? I've never played Metal Gear Solid 4. That is the only numbered Metal Gear Solid I've never played, and it's because I was late to buying a PS3, and by the time I did, I, for some odd reason, never went back to 4. I've played 1, I've played 2, I've played 3, I've played 5. But I know it's weird. I never played Metal Gear Solid 4. I would love to play that game, but it's probably a freaking chore because it was so programmed to the PS3, and the PS3, as we know, is such like a weird machine in terms of architecture. So I'd love it, but I don't know if we'll see it happen. And how well do I think it'll sell? Decent. I don't think it's going to be some crazy sort of thing, but yeah, it's Metal Gear Solid. People love Metal Gear. People will buy it. What's up, Red Dead series? Justin Dorr. Benji, I was at Summer Game Fest. I was trying to spot you. Well, I did not get invited. Xbox didn't invite me. Jeff didn't invite me. I've talked about it a lot. I don't get invited to anything. It's a bummer. You know, the following keeps growing, but it's still not enough. Maybe once I get over 100,000, you know. I'll tell you what, if I'm still at 100,000 and I can't get to any of these shows, I will be a tad disappointed because there's people with way smaller followings that get invited to this stuff. And it's not one of those things where I feel like I'm owed anything. Not at all. Like I just said, I'm a random guy, but I'm saying if like I can't even get in, like I'm not hugely famous by any means. Not at all. That's literally not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if I get to 100,000 followers and I'm still like, hey, Jeff, let me cover Summer Game Fest. And he's like, Benji, no. I'll be like, damn, you're letting people in with way smaller followings than me. You must not want me to cover it. But yeah, I wasn't there. Maybe I'll get there at some point. But yeah, no, still hasn't happened. Guaviute, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it right. Phil was wrong. I've been struggling on a 5-year-old laptop on PC Game Pass, but I had to buy a Series X after that showing. A lot of people are. A lot of people are buying Series X's and Series S after that showing. So, you're not alone, man. Not alone. Listen, like I keep saying, I think that Phil's comments maybe didn't come across the way he wanted them to. That's what I still suspect happened there. And I even said that in my reaction video. I was like, I don't think this came out the way he meant it. I've told you guys all the time, I always rewatch my streams once. And I'm telling you, at least once every stream, whenever I'm doing the rewatch to see where I messed up, at least once every stream, I'm like, oh, that didn't come across how I thought it did. Like what I was thinking and how I feel, it wasn't quite projected the way I said it. I'm sure Phil probably feels similarly to his first party comments that he made, not being a huge hardware impact. He's probably like, not quite how I meant it, how it came across. Because yes, Starfield's already selling consoles. Just imagine if this thing gets like a 90 Metacritic, they're gonna sell so many Xbox consoles. Liam Scott, who are you maining in Street Fighter 6? You know, this is funny. In fighting games, I like always play as all of the women. Like always. Like every fighting game. So Cammy, Chun-Li, yeah, all them. Like that's just that's how I play fighting games. I don't know why that is. I think it's because in a lot of them, a lot of the girl characters are like really fast. Not always, but oftentimes you'll have that. And I really like in fighting games to be like really fast paced in my play style. I'm not like a super defensive countering kind of guy. I'm like really offensive in the way I play. I'm not a good fighting game player, by the way. I'm not like great, but I've just always, whether it's Soul Calibur or Mortal Kombat, it's usually the women. That's usually who I play as in fighting games. It's so good, though. It's so good. Street Fighter 6 is just absolutely fantastic. What a game. JoJo's saying, what's up, Benji? What's up? And that's coming from someone that didn't like Street Fighter 5. I didn't like that game, but 6 is just money, man. It's so good. I think I've put like over 40 hours into Street Fighter 6 already, which for a fighting game for me is a lot. JoJo, Benji, bro, you the man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Casual Gamer, hi, hope you're well. When do you think dev/pubs will shift focus from live service back to non-live service games? When do you think live service battle will end? Do you think Battle Royale battle ended? Well, I think you're already starting to see a bit of that shift right now. Look at Ubisoft Showcase. There was a little bit of games as a service there, right? They showed X Defiant and stuff, but like what were the big highlights from Ubisoft show? Like the things they really focused on. Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar, Outlaws, all single player games, non-service games. So I really think that Ubisoft, and I've been telling you guys, what do I keep saying? I keep using the same wording for it. Ubisoft should be the canary in the coal mine, the flashing warning neon sign. Don't go all in on free-to-play and live service at once. I think you're already starting to see a bit of that pivot. So when do I think they'll shift it away completely from live service? Never. Because like I said, you might get the next Apex Legends. You might get the next Fortnite. You might get the next Destiny. The odds are against you because it's so competitive in the live service space. But the upside is so high that every company is still going to try and get those big live service hits, as they should. It's just a smart business decision. What they need to be careful of is not going all in on resources on that like Ubisoft did at one point a few years back. They pivoted and they were just like, all resources are going to free-to-play and live service. And it screwed them, right? They still have not had a huge live service hit. And look how long it's been since there's been big, huge single-player games from them. Valhalla? Wasn't that the last one they had? And Valhalla was 2020? Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that now all of a sudden, and it's not a coincidence that EA is making like, you know, Fallen Order and Survivor and Dead Space, and they've got a single player Iron Man game coming, and like, you know, I think you're already seeing people start to realize they got to be careful chasing that live service train. You should try, it's business negligence to not do some of it, But you got to be real careful just how much you invest, because I think they're risky. I just keep saying that. I think it's so risky to pull people off of Fortnite, to pull people off Apex, to pull people off Destiny. Like, good luck, man. Good luck. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get them to start playing less of that and more of your game. That's a tough ask. Limerency, do you have an opinion on the rampant Persona 3 Reload leaks? Yeah, I didn't cover them. I personally don't cover a ton of like leaks like that when it's like flat out like assets and stuff leaking, because I feel really bad for the developers, because I've talked to devs who have had stuff leaked and it bums them out. So I, like, when the Grand Theft Auto leaks happened, I didn't post any of that footage. I think I made a comment about it, but I didn't cover it. Like, I didn't post the Persona 3 leaks when they happened. I feel bad for the devs when this happens. Like, I feel really bad for them. So I tend to not cover that stuff. I don't think that means it's bad that other people do. I mean, it's out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. I get why people cover it. But me personally, I know, even if it's not in like we're best friends, but like I have communication with enough developers in the industry, and I've heard stories about how bummed out they get about leaks, that I personally choose to not cover it. So that's why I didn't post anything about it. Chris says Starfield honestly looks like it could be one of the greatest games of all time. It does look very good. I don't know if I'm going to go that high yet, but it does look great. It does look great. South of Midnight. Yeah, that's the game. I keep forgetting it. I knew it was something midnight. Relo K, hi Benji, do you think Starfield will jumpstart higher growth rates for Game Pass again? Yes. How many subs do you think will come from Starfield alone? Millions. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Millions. Now, whether those millions will stay after they're done with Starfield is a different question. But do I think they're going to get millions of subs for Starfield? Yes, if it's as good as it looks. Again, that's the thing we have to keep saying. If by some shocker Starfield comes out and Starfield is a 70 Metacritic. Again, this seems so unlikely to me now after seeing 45 minutes of the game. At that point, that is so substantial footage. It'd be pretty hard to fake you out. Like, our game actually sucks. We totally faked you out with 45 minutes of footage. That's a tough ask. You can cherry pick, 3 or 4 minutes for a trailer and make a game look good. It's pretty hard to cherry pick 45 minutes of video. So, again, I'd be utterly shocked at this point if Starfield comes in really below 85 meta. But in the off chance it does, that changes everything that we're discussing about Starfield right now. But as long as it's as good as it looks, dude, it's going to be big, y'all. Big, big, big. People forget how big Bethesda Game Studios RPGs are. We just had a comment. 60 million for Skyrim. It's one of the best-selling games of all time. It's the potential for Starfield to blow up is big. Big. Oh, Justin, I couldn't agree more. Justin Dorr says, I don't know how many of you guys see all the corporate shills for both PlayStation and Xbox, but it's really starting to annoy me because people can't just enjoy both platforms without hating on the other. My stance on this, Justin, has always been, I really admire people that are super big fans of an individual platform. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, if you love PlayStation and you're just like cheering on PlayStation, good for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you love Xbox and you're just cheering on Xbox and you're positive about Xbox, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's cool you love Xbox. What I don't like is the second part of what you say here. Whenever you are a big PlayStation fan and you're just constantly crapping on other platforms or vice versa, whatever. I'm just like, dude, I don't know. To me, it's a giant waste of time. We only live once. You got one shot. Do you really want to spend it arguing with people on the internet about video games? Gotta ask yourself that. Carlos, Starfield looked like Game of the Year material. I think it does, yeah. I said this, Greg Miller had a tweet, and he's like, what will win Game of the Year? He said, Zelda, Starfield, or other. And before this showcase, to me, I have a small private Discord. Some of these people that are here are in the Discord. You can ask them. I was literally like, dude, Zelda's got it, man. Like, it's like, before the game came out, I wasn't sure. But once I played Zelda, I was like, I don't see how anything's going to top Zelda. Like, it's just locked for Game of the Year. Now, again, I still pick Zelda. Like, as of now, if you're a betting man, I still think Zelda is going to get the overall 2023 Game of the Year. But for the first time, I feel like Starfield's legit competition. Now, we need to see if it's good or not. But if it delivers on what it looks like, again, that doesn't mean to me that it's like a fact now that Starfield will beat Zelda in Game of the Year, because I don't. I still lean Zelda. But I could see publications, certain ones, giving it to Starfield over Zelda. I could see that if it's as good as it looks. It's all an if. But I think there will be some people that Starfield, will be bigger for them than Zelda. But we'll see. That's still a giant wild card. We got to see it actually come out first. Ditto News, buenos dias. Good morning in Spanish. Hello, everyone. Hello. Great to see you, Ditto News. All right. I'm going to scroll to the bottom, hit a few questions from the bottom, and then we're going to bounce just to make sure no super chats or channel members or anything like that came in here at the end that haven't gotten hit. We're going to do a few and then bounce. Jacob Skirt, Capcom could have been a tweet. It could have been a tweet. Yeah, it was rough, man. It was rough. And I love Capcom, but that showcase was rough, man. Antagonist 33 with a 2 super chat. Love how unbiased you are. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much, Antagonist. Listen, the main reason why I think that I have a decent unbiased take, all of us have some biases, whether we're aware of them or not, right? Even myself. I try not to be, but every human being is going to have some bias somewhere, whether they're even aware of it. I think one thing that helps me in a lot of my coverage is I try to mostly stick to facts. If you notice, most of my coverage, whether it's on Twitter or even here on my YouTube channel, most of my replies, most of the things I tweet, it is mostly facts-based. Now, every once in a while, I'll give you my opinion on, in terms of just, quality statements, right? I'll give you my opinion a lot on, how is a game going to sell or something like that. But I'm talking, is Xbox cool? Is blah, blah, blah game a high-quality game? Most of my coverage is not really about that. It's kind of about the facts. And that when you're dealing with facts, it's easier to be a little more unbiased, unless you just want to ignore data, but that's not a good way to think. So that's one thing that helps me. If I was just doing reviews, I'm sure that there would be some people that really hate me for my opinion on a game they love or something like that. You know what I mean? When you're in that area, where a lot of content creators are, where they're doing reviews for games, they're doing strong opinion pieces, that's where things can get way more volatile, man. For me, I mostly try to stick to the facts with some other stuff sprinkled in, and that helps. I'm really trying to just go with the facts. Spagdretti, I think the Digital Foundry video on Starfield was good. They said 30 FPS will be the norm, or at least they expect that. A lot of people need to just accept 30 FPS is on the way. And people were pissed. Speaking about people getting mad, people were mad at me that I did not care that Starfield's 30 FPS. It's not often I get people outright mad at me. They were mad at me for that take. And I was like, I do not care. If you live and die by 60 FPS, buy a PC. I don't know how many times people are going to have to repeat that to you. That doesn't mean that we should just every game 60 FPS shouldn't be an option. Absolutely not. 60 FPS I hope a lot of games support at 60 FPS. If you ask me, just Benji, pie in the sky, you can have anything you want. Would you want Starfield to have a 60 FPS mode? And my response would be absolutely. I would love people to just be able to get 60 FPS locked on everything. The reality is, these consoles are not as strong as you think they are. They are strong. They were great hardware for 2020. We are now in 2023. We're about to be in 2024. These things aren't magic boxes. I don't know why this happens every gen where people think like these new consoles are just eternally going to be incredibly powerful and be able to render everything at 4K and 120. This happens every gen. People that weren't around for the early PS4 days forget the selling point. 1080p 60 FPS. You're going to see this a lot, right? That was a tweet that went out from one of the PlayStation architects or something. I can't remember who said it. It was someone at PlayStation, and they said, get ready. This gen, 1080p 60 FPS. You know how many games last gen were 1080p 60 FPS on regular PS4? Not a lot. Not a lot. We're locked 1080p and locked 60 FPS. These are not magic box consoles. You're going to start to see a lot of 30 FPS games as people start to actually make current gen only games. That is just the reality. There's going to be some that are still 60 FPS, but these are the facts. I've had devs themselves tell me, you know what? I had someone from Naughty Dog flat out tell me, expect a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games to be 30 FPS only. That's just how it's going to go, guys. If you are that dead set, I'm not saying that you prefer 60. That is totally fine. I'm saying if you're like some of these people that are like, if a game's not 60 FPS, I won't play it. I got news for you. Go buy a high-end PC. That's the only way you're going to get it. There's going to be a lot of 60 FPS games this gen. It ain't going to be all of them. It ain't even going to be close to all of them. So it is what it is. Frank Tuhey, how are you feeling about Sony's outlook? Good. I'm still not as down on them as a lot of people are. I thought their showcase was not very good. But I don't think one bad showcase means the end of the world. They just had God of War Ragnarok, which was amazing. Last of Us Part 1 was a super great remake last year. GT7 was good. Loved Horizon Forbidden West. Like, they're fine, guys, you know. It wasn't a good showcase. I ain't going to defend the showcase. Like, it wasn't great, but I'm not that worried about them. Now, if we go through next year and really all they release are like fair games and like, you know, Concord, okay, well, you know, that might start to be like, what exactly is going on over at PlayStation, right? If we hit a scenario like that, where it was like next year there really was almost none of these big single player games they're known for, and it really was just a couple live service games. Like if that actually played out, I would be like, all right, I ain't really sure what's going on over here, but just because of the showcase, I won't beat them up that much for it. It wasn't a great showcase, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Gaspar Guru of Time with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Gaspar Guru. I can donate, LOL. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I already put it in chat, but I feel like the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth views on YouTube haven't blown up like I thought, especially compared to Remake. Do you feel similar? Is it concerning? I've been saying this for a while. Final Fantasy's metrics haven't been like crazy for quite a while, to be honest. 16 has never had huge numbers. Rebirth I thought was actually pretty solid. But again, not like crazy metrics, but solid. I thought they were good. I would say comparing Rebirth's metrics to the original remake is tough because you gotta remember the original remake reveal was for something people had like dreamed of for a long time, right? It had been the amount of buildup you had to that remake reveal. Remember, there's the infamous PS3 tech demo of it, and it's one of the most beloved JRPGs of all time. So I think Rebirth not necessarily doing the original remake numbers on social media, I ain't that worried about that, to be honest, because that was just like a crazy level of excitement for that reveal. So I wouldn't worry that much about it. I did talk on my last chat. I think that Square Enix is really running a risk of hurting the brand with this extreme exclusivity that they keep doing with both Epic and Sony. I do think there's some risk there, guys. And I said on my last stream, I'm not saying that, making Final Fantasy on Xbox means they're going to suddenly sell 5 million copies on Xbox. That I don't actually believe that at all. But I think by at least being fully multi-platform, you at least do have that visibility on Xbox. Plus, you have Phil Spencer, who's absolutely going to throw a Game Pass bag at it, 100%. If he could get Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox, and the only way he could do that was to give Square Enix a big fat check for a Game Pass release, Phil hasn't told me this, but I'm telling you, he would do it. He'd be like, here's a big fat Game Pass check to come to it. And that can get you potential visibility. Maybe you can't sell a lot on Xbox, but maybe you could get a lot of people to play it through Game Pass. Persona 5. Persona 5 was the highest placed JRPG in the entire history of Xbox on the most played list because it launched on Game Pass. I don't think they sold a ton of copies of Persona 5 on Game Pass, but they got a lot of people to play with it and engage with the brand. Plus, they don't put these games on PC day one, or if they do, it's like later on Epic Game Store, and then even more staggered after that onto Steam. Like I said on my last, I think it was my last chat, Square Enix better be getting the absolute bag from Sony and Epic. If they're not getting, when I say the bag, I mean millions and millions and millions, plural, tons of millions. They better be getting fortunes from Epic and Sony, because if they aren't, I think they might be messing up. So we'll see. I think that these games, if they really wanted to blow the brand up, like just make it as big as the brand could be, this should be on Steam day one, not staggered, not Epic Game Store only day one. No, Steam. It should be on Steam day one. It should be on PS5 day one. It should be on Xbox day one. Like, all of these things should happen if we're just talking about total brand exposure, awareness, and size. But, like I said on my last chat, if they're getting enormous bags from PlayStation and from Epic, then my tune's a little different, right? If they're barely paying to develop these games because the money from Epic and from Sony is so huge, I understand it. So it's really all about how much friggin' money are you guys getting? Because it better be a lot. You better be getting paid a lot. Because if you aren't, I'm not so sure you're managing the brand that well. Dangerman1337, that PS5 Unreal Engine 5 demo in 2020 was 1440p 30 FPS. Cross-gen live service games really distorted reality. They absolutely did. These cross-gen games, like, it ain't a coincidence. Did you guys notice the visuals jump that happened this E3? I almost made a tweet about it. Like, you can see we are moving into current gen now. I mean, Avatar, Outlaws, and Fable look like games that are not possible on last-gen hardware. And there's all of these, like, debates I'm saying about if Fable's real or not. And I somewhat was like, man, that looks good. Can they really pull that off? Until Ubisoft's conference. And now I'm like, yeah, I fully believe that Fable was real. After seeing Avatar, I'm not saying that Avatar and Fable are quite equivalent. I would put Fable, I think, a little bit above what we saw out of Avatar. But Avatar was legit on a PS5 running on a game that's about to come out in 5 months. Like, that's a real game that looks like that. And the jump from Avatar to Fable wasn't generational. And after seeing that, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of believe that Fables actually was real. And there's a reason. Guys, I'm going to spoiler alert for you. I guarantee you Star Wars Outlaws is 30 FPS on console. That ain't going to be a 60 FPS game. Fable, if it really looks like that, that ain't going to be a 60 FPS game. Unless they have, like, unbelievable cutbacks to get to 30. But it ain't going to look anything like what it looked like at 60 FPS on an Xbox. Like, it's just the reality. And I get people loving 60 FPS. It does feel amazing. But you're going to have to buy a high-end PC then. Because you just aren't going to get it with these current gen only games. It's just not going to. Some will. But, like, these ones that are really going to push, no, it's just not going to happen. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go. It was a long stream. Wow, I went for 2 hours. Holy cow. Kind of lost track of time, actually. All right, guys, let's go. Let's bounce. All members got questions answered. I don't think I missed anyone. I don't think. Blazing Flame, Benji, you are the most wholesome and wonderful person on this platform. God bless you. Keep being awesome. Oh, that's so kind, man. That's so kind. You know, as I go, uh, I'm someone that has a lot of personal problems. So part of the reason why I think I'm able to maintain trying to just good vibes online is like I really struggle, man, in my personal life, like bad, and I don't want anyone else to feel like that. You know what I mean? A lot of people are just like so mean and aggressive and things like that, and I don't ever want someone to feel like how I feel. If I could make it to where the whole world would never feel how I feel, oh, I would love it. I don't want anyone to experience what I experience. And the best way to, at least the only impact I can have is not treating people in a way that would make them feel how I feel. So that's why I try and do that. But anyways, I'm going to go, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of the super chats. Thanks for all of the channel members. We were over 100 in chat almost the entire stream, which has just become the new norm here, which I really love. Over 100 to me is like amazing, right? If we never get higher than that, that's fine. It seems to be 100 plus every stream now live, which is so cool. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you to the channel members. Thank you for the super chats. I'm glad I was actually able to hit a lot of free questions because for a while there, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to because there was so much of the other stuff. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already. I'm Benji-Sales on Twitter. That's where I'm sure most of you come from, but in the slim chance you only see this YouTube video, come follow me on Twitter. That's where most people are that follow me. Hope you guys had fun in the summer showcase season, whether you loved some shows or hated some shows, you know, whatever. But I hope overall you guys found some stuff that you liked. I'm going to bounce now, and I will see you either next week here on YouTube or I will see you very soon here on Twitter. As always, stay safe. Play some games, and I will catch you all next time. Have a great one, okay? Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.